Firefighting organizations aboard maritime vessels consist of several teams. The master of the ship bears the overall responsibility for the operation. Though duties vary from ship to ship, usually the chief officer will be in charge of operations in the accommodations and deck area, and the chief engineer is responsible for operations in and around the engine room. The crew is also divided into various teams, such as firefighting teams, engine room teams, technical teams, and first aid teams. A detailed description of the composition and allocation of personnel to various fire parties will follow in another chapter. The organization and jurisdiction of shore-based rescue services and the resources available to them will vary from country to country, and may involve civilian or military emergency agencies. The way in which the operation is handled will also depend on whether the ship is at sea or in port. Local firefighting authorities will normally engage fires that occur in port. Fires at sea, however, will require a great deal more organization, which can include assistance of firefighting tugs and the transportation of firefighting crews and equipment from several different stations to the area. Such operations are coordinated at multi-jurisdictional levels. When a coastal station receives an emergency signal, the message is relayed to national and international networks that will then contact the relevant emergency services. It may, however, take some time before they arrive. Usually, commercial vessels sailing nearby will be the first to arrive at the scene and provide assistance. The master has ultimate responsibility for any operations on board the vessel. By tactics, we mean planned courses of action or procedures that are intended to result in the best possible outcome. This involves the placement and coordination of crew members or teams in such a way that maximizes their ability to cope with the situation. These procedures include alerting or notifying, alarm instructions, saving lives, the limiting the fire, the use of smoke and It is important to alert or notify the bridge immediately. This can be done by using a system or by using automatic or manual alarm systems. The management on board will then have more to organize the firefighting operation. Emergency plan. On board every vessel you will find an emergency plan, explaining the meaning of the various alarm signals and your specific duties in an emergency situation. Make sure you are familiar with the emergency plan on your vessel. Click the different buttons to hear the alarm signals. Direct contact with the fire is not the cause of most fatalities. The majority of deaths are caused by inhalation of smoke and toxic gases. As soon as someone is suspected to be missing, the master must be informed so that a search can be carried out. Keep in mind that this search involves risks to the rescue crew. Plus, it directly delays the extinguishing activity because crew members that should be firefighting must conduct a search. Therefore, any missing personnel must be found or accounted for as soon as possible. Crew members must report to their assigned posts immediately upon the sounding of an alarm. Otherwise, work will be delayed because a search has to be made for personnel that are not in any immediate danger. The Emergency Escape Breathing Device, EEBD, is a personal breathing mask that keeps the user with oxygen for a certain number of minutes, enough to enable him or her to escape to a safer environment. The IMO requires a minimum of 2 sets in the accommodation room, 2 in the engine room area, 2 spare sets, and 1 training set. This means a minimum of 7 sets per vessel. It is also of vital importance to limit the fire by cooling down bulkheads, closing the ventilation, removing gas bottles from the area, shutting down electrical power, sealing off the area. Fire doors are designed to isolate various sections of the vessel from both fire and smoke propagation. They must operate via a remote closing mechanism, but also manually in case of power failure. Fire doors and dampers operation is a standard part of the ship's mandatory fire drill. Smoke and fire dampers close the ventilation and airflow through parts of the vessel. Because the number, type and location of fire doors and dampers will vary from ship to ship, crew members are expected to become familiarized with them. It is very important that at all times no obstructions are in the way of their closing mechanism. The sooner that extinguishing operations are started, the greater are the chances of a successful result. When choosing an extinguishing method, the goal must be the total elimination of the blaze. One must also consider the amount of damage the extinguishing agent will cause to the surrounding area, while still keeping in mind that the first priority is to extinguish the fire before it causes any more damage. In some parts of the vessel, one can choose between fixed firefighting installations or using manual equipment, such as hoses or extinguishers. In some areas of the ship, manual firefighting will be the only alternative. Permanent firefighting systems, such as CO2, Inogen, argonite or foam, should be installed and used in areas where the danger of a fire starting is high and there is a great risk of fire spreading. Any manual firefighting involves a certain degree of risk to the extinguishing force. The decision as to which equipment to utilize in a specific situation must be well based. Being in command requires good leadership skills. Important qualities in relation to being a good leader include professional skill, communication, trust. Communication skills are an important factor in good human relations and earning the respect of your fellow crewmates. It is important to keep in mind not only what you say, but also how you say things. The tone of your voice and use of body actually mean. Good leaders are also good listeners, and this gives them an ability to connect. The environment can be a very difficult place to communicate in, yet just good order can result in a serious accident. Misunderstandings can easily occur when crew members of different nationalities and native try to communicate in a second language, so it is important that everyone clearly understands what the other is saying. A simple nod may seem to confirm that what you have said has been understood, but keep in mind this is not true for all cultures. If there is the slightest doubt whether an order has been understood, be sure to ask the person to explain what they are to do before they start work. The noise of machinery and the sea can also add difficulty to communicating. You should avoid long and potentially inaccurate phrases, especially during emergency situations. Remember, messages to the smoke divers must be short and precise. The master, or the person in charge, must be an experienced and skilled professional who is confident in their ability to assess situations as they arise, as well as being able to motivate and inspire others. Professional skills are obtained through experience, general competence, training.